Hello everybody, I'm Christopher from China, Germany, together with the Meizu MX4, the first available MT6595 smartphone, plus the very first Mediatek based Meizu smartphone. So let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. So first of all, we are having a look at the packaging of the Meizu MX4, and we already know that book-like style from the Meizu MX3, which had a very similar packaging. With the Meizu MX4 it got a little bit thicker, but basically it's still the same book-like concept. You have several pages to go through until you finally get to the inside of the box. If I would open that for the first time now, the phone would be placed right inside of there. We find a little warranty card as well as a white micro USB data cable and a 2 ampere wall charger for the phone, along with a socket adapter for German wall sockets. So that's about it. There are no headphones, no protective films and no bumpers. But well, considering the low price in China of only 230 euros, this is not bad at all. And well, you can easily forgive Meizu for not packing any more stuff inside of there. So here is the Meizu MX4 in the gray version, which actually has a black front and a gray metal frame and a gray rear cover. And I have to say that I'm really in love with the design of this phone. I like phones to be designed straightforward and have a very structured and simple design, and this is actually what the Meizu MX4 does deliver. On the front we find a comparably small phone call speaker and a very small front camera, and actually the sensors on here aren't visible. And then we have a nice large screen with very thin bezels and the usual Meizu home button, which actually is the only button below the screen and also acts as a status LED. On the sides we find, of course, the metal frame of the phone, which is made of one piece together with the chassis. We find the volume rocker. On the lower side we find a voice microphone, a micro USB plug with OTG support, the media speaker of the phone, and a little hole to pull off the rear cover, so you actually don't need a suction cup like it's the case with the OnePlus One or the Xiaomi Mi 4. On the right side we actually find nothing, and on the upper side we find the on-off switch, another microphone and a 3.5mm headphone jack. So let's turn it over to the rear, and here we find again a very simple, very structured design. We see the camera, the dual LED flash with two different LED colors, and a Meizu logo along with the slogan "Designed by Meizu, made in China." So let's pull the rear off quickly, which is going fairly simple. You simply push it away with this little hole and then go around with your nail to make the rest of the cover loose. Now it's opened, and now you can see the battery, and even though you can see it, you can't replace it, which really is a pity, but well, the battery is pretty large, so I guess it will last quite some time and probably will live longer than you will have the phone. The battery actually is made by Samsung or Sony. They have two different manufacturers for them. Also we find the SIM tray here, which is a single SIM tray for a micro SIM card, so this is not a dual SIM phone. And I actually like that they placed the SIM card below the back cover, which simply eliminates the SIM slot on the sides of the phone, which I like because it makes the design more elegant and simple. What I dislike, however, is that they didn't place a micro SD card slot right next to it, but well, Meizu never did that, so well, it's probably standard for this company. All in all, I have to say that the Meizu MX4 features a really high build quality, which is insane considering the price of only 230 euros in China. Even though it's not the thinnest phone in the world, it still looks very thin because of the rounded sides and the rounded rear. I really like the design, as I said, and I think it looks just gorgeous. So now I have fired up the Meizu MX4, and while this thing is booting up, I tell you a little bit about the screen. Now the screen is a little bit unusual with the Meizu MX4, as it has a ratio of 15:9 instead of 16:9. This means that it is a little smaller towards the height of the phone, but the width is a little larger than with other phones. Now this actually makes it easier to use with this large screen size, because you usually can reach the sides of any phone with your fingers. Let me quickly turn this thing silent. But you can't reach the very top when it comes to a phablet device, at least if you have small hands. And with this screen ratio of 15:9, you actually can reach all edges of the screen without using two hands, and this is a huge plus. And it also is very comfortable to surf the internet with the screen ratio in portrait mode instead of landscape mode, so I really like that. But it also has a few downsides, like black bars showing up if you watch a video in landscape mode. The size of the screen is a 5.36 inch panel, which also is a little unusual, and the panel is being manufactured by either Sharp or JDI, so they again have two manufacturers for those. The contrast ratio is 1100 to 1, and the brightness is 500 candela per square meter, so that's not bad at all. And the glass of the screen is Gorilla Glass free, so it should be pretty resistant to scratches and so on. Regarding the quality of the panel, I have to say that I'm very impressed by this one. The picture is really clear, and the pixel density is very high, because the resolution also is a little higher than 1080p with 1920 by 1152 pixels. So let's have a closer look at the panel, and here you see that you can't see pixels at all with this one, and that's a real plus of the screen. Also, I like the intense colors of this one. Now there are some people who probably don't like that because they prefer a more natural color playback. But I have to say that I really like screens that show very intense colors, and this screen really caters to that need. Another thing I like is the brightness. It is really bright on maximum brightness setting, and you actually don't have any issues when using the phone outside in the sun. During the last couple of days we had a few sunny days here, even though winter is coming, but I was still able to read everything, even though the sun was shining directly on the screen from time to time. So let's have a look at the viewing angles, and as you can see here, the brightness is going down a little as usual, but well, that's normal for every IPS screen. But there is no inversion in the colors or something. You can still see everything and even read everything from extreme viewing angles, so that's really nice. Another thing I like about this screen is the digitizer, as this one is working very good since the last OTA update. It doesn't need much pressure, it's very sensitive and very precise, and the finger is sliding over the glass very easy. It doesn't break the finger at all. I really like that, and it's a pleasure to use this phone with this stunning screen. The Meizu MX4 comes with a pre-installed version of Flyme OS 4, which is the latest Flyme OS version, the custom ROM that comes to use on every Meizu smartphone. And well, I have to say that I really like Flyme OS because it's very easy to use, very structured, very simple, yet very feature rich. Not everyone likes it because of this simplicity. Some think it makes it unnecessarily hard to use, but I think it's a very, very good user experience, and I, well, really like that. So now I want to give you a few impressions of the operating system used on here. So let's first start with turning on the phone. We have a few options here. First of all, I can press the on-off switch and it will bring me right to the lock screen. If I double tap on the lock screen, it will turn the phone off again. Now if I double tap on the turned off phone, it will again bring me to the lock screen. And I also can swipe down from the very top and it will bring me to the notification center, the phone still being locked. And I also can slide from the bottom towards the top, and this will bring me right to the home screen of the phone. If I slide from the left to the right, I can choose any app I want which is supposed to open if I do this gesture. And if I swipe from the right to the left, the camera application will open up. And now this does also work when being on the lock screen. I can swipe to the left, camera will open up, to the right, and I can choose any application that's supposed to open then. And I also can drag down the notification bar on the lock screen. So let's unlock the phone, and here you see the home screen of Flyme OS 4. And this one looks very elegant, as you can see, and it is also very simple and similar to MIUI. It has all the installed applications on the home screen, so there's no separate app drawer, and you can actually order them in folders simply by dragging them above each other. If you press on any empty area of a home screen for a longer time, you will get to the quick settings where you can quickly arrange your icons, your app icons, or you can add widgets to the home screen. Let's also have a quick look into the settings app, and you see this one is very simple yet again. We have a little bar with the category icons on the left, and here you see the settings area which is showing the settings of the selected categories. So for example, if I tap on Wi-Fi here, I will see the available Wi-Fi networks as well as the connection settings for the Wi-Fi network I'm connected to. If you for some reason don't know which feature a specific icon does represent, simply swipe from the left to the right and you will see the names of all categories. Now I really like the settings app. It's really straightforward, really structured, and I think it's one of the most easy to use settings app that you can find in any Android custom ROM. And now I want to show you a little bit about how you can control the operating system, because you only have one home button on the bottom here, which is a little unusual for Android. Most phones have 3 touch buttons below the screen. Now actually, if you are in some app, it will display this bar on the bottom where you have a menu button and a back button, but you don't need to use them. You also can trigger a back command by simply touching the home button and then drag to the top. This will always trigger the function back. And if you want to open the multitasking view, simply swipe from the black area on the right or the left of the home button towards the screen, and it will bring the multitasking bar up, which contains all opened apps running in the background right now. You can tap them to switch to them, or you can close them by dragging them away towards the top. And if you are in a full screen app, you actually can also show the notification bar and the control buttons by simply doing this gesture as well. So that's pretty easy to use, and I wasn't able to find any barriers so far which would prevent me from controlling the phone properly, even though it only has one button. Next, let's have a little look inside the notification area. So here you can see the notifications. I can drag them away as we are used to from Android, and I can also trigger basic functions like liking a chat message on Facebook, or if I would have an email here right now, I could delete them or something like that. Also, you'll see here on the top we have a few quick settings. Those are the most important ones, mostly related to connection. We have the Wi-Fi control here, we have mobile data, we have Bluetooth, and we also can control the brightness of the phone, either automatic brightness control or manual brightness control. If you need to access more quick settings, you simply tap this icon and they will pull down, and you can disable GPS, flight mode, and so on. And you can also switch the phone silent by a single tap onto this icon over here. So that's really easy to use. Next, let's have a little look at some system apps. First of all, the security application. Now, this is not only a security application, but it also is supposed to help you cleaning up data waste. You can scan your phone, it will find unnecessary data, and you can delete it. After a few days of use, it will mostly find around 1 GB of memory that can be wiped to be available again. And it also will give you some security warnings if for any reason you have a malicious application installed. It will give you a, I'm sorry, I need to tap here. It will give you a little warning. In my case, I have Aptoid installed, which is an alternative app store, but a lot of people are uploading malicious apps there, so it will give me a warning here that this is a potential security risk. And it will also notify me right when I install the application that this app has some certain risks. Also, the system can be controlled in terms of which rights you want to give any apps. When you install any application, you can choose which rights the app should be granted, and you also can change the rights an application has afterwards within this application. Now, for the application design, I have to say that I really like that, though it's very similar to MIUI version 6. We have the same concept of the notification bar having the same color as the application had, like we find in MIUI version 6, so that's looking very similar. But some applications in the system have a really useful feature where you can use them in window mode. Means you can make the application smaller and it will float above the rest of the screen, and you can use any other application, for example the browser, and still continue to use this specific app. And this does also work with the video player. Let me just show you that quickly. Let me play a 4K video so you can see how powerful the MT6595 SoC is. So you see a 4K video being played, and if I tap this icon it will become smaller, but I can continue to work with the browser or any other application while watching this 4K video. So that's a really neat feature and I really like this one. So that's about my little tour through Flyme OS. I won't show you anything more as the video would become too long in this case, but I think you have seen some of the important parts now and also got a quick impression about the performance of the MT6595. I won't do a performance demo this time because again the video would become too long then. Please check out our channel. You will find a gaming performance demo of the MT6595 in there, and I think this will tell you everything you need to know about the MT6595's gaming performance. Now the next thing we need to talk about is multimedia, and especially the audio quality of this phone. Now in the Meizu MX4, Meizu used a Wolfson audio processor and a dedicated amplifier to give you a very good audio experience. Now with the Meizu MX4 they dropped the Wolfson audio processor simply because Mediatek already teamed up with Wolfson, and the MT6595 contains a Wolfson audio processor out of the box. Now what they did is to add a NXP Smart PA 2.0 audio chipset, which is able to improve the audio experience of any file on the fly, means while you are playing the audio file. Now this also is the reason why you won't find any equalizer in the system, because the chip is doing all of this, always giving you a perfect audio experience. And what it also does is to improve the volume of the internal media speaker by up to 100%, and I can really confirm this one, as this phone can reach an intense volume you won't have experienced in any phone before. And this is really insane and really is uncomfortable loud if you pull it to 100%. And I also would recommend you not to pull it to 100% because with certain tracks it probably will start to distort, which isn't that nice. Now what I also noticed is that the audio quality of the internal speaker is very good. It's very clear and balanced, and it has a perfect bass playback. So actually it's a lot of fun listening to music with the internal speaker if you don't have any headphones in place. Talking about headphones, the headphone jack also has a very good audio output, very strong, very clear, very balanced, intense basses. It's really a pleasure to listen to music with this phone using good headphones. But I say good headphones because if you use cheap ones, they most of the time have a hard time to play the music that comes out of this phone because the signal is too intense and they start to distort. So if you want to use headphones, please make sure to get good headphones because else your audio experience will really be limited. I recommend you the Xiaomi Pistons as they are cheap but really high-end sounding, and I really love those headphones and they work perfectly well with this phone. That being said, let's give me a little audio demo from the internal media speaker for you to evaluate the audio quality. Next, let's talk about reception quality of this phone, and I have to say that here it became very clear for the second time after the performance how significantly the quality of Mediatek chipsets has changed. The reception quality of the Meizu MX4 is amazing. I've never had below 3 signal bars for 2G and 3G reception, and that's outstanding considering that the network development here in Germany isn't that good at all places. Now here where I live, I have 3G connection almost all the time, which is insane because really not every phone managed to do that, only very high-end phones usually, and well, I really like that. And the good reception quality also results in an amazing audio quality during phone calls. It's very clear, no distortion, noises or anything. It's a perfect calling experience every phone should deliver, I think. And I also was in Munich one day and had the chance to test LTE, and even though I was outside of this city, I actually had 3 bars of 4G connection, 4G LTE connection, and this was very surprising to me, and I really enjoyed that. So the reception quality is pretty good for mobile networks, and well, it even does continue for Wi-Fi. I have full reception quality inside the whole house without any problems. The only room the reception is limited a bit is the kitchen here, but this is the room that is the farthest away from the router, and actually most devices, 80 to 90% of all tested devices lose the Wi-Fi connection. There the Meizu MX4 didn't. It had 2 bars of signal strength, and actually it was still enough to browse the internet. It wasn't quite enough for video streaming, but for surfing the internet it still was okay, and this really impressed me. And the Meizu MX4 also does support Wi-Fi AC, which means you have data rates of over 400 Mbit per second, which is insane, and I tested it and it does work flawlessly. And also for Bluetooth, I tested this one with a smartwatch and with my mobile Bluetooth speaker, and I didn't encounter any issues here. With a normal Bluetooth 4.0 mode, the range was around 20 meters under Free View, and I think with Bluetooth LE enabled it was around 10 meters. And another thing that really impressed me about the MT6595 SoC and of course the Meizu MX4 is that the GPS reception quality is insane. Now previous Mediatek chipsets only supported GPS and HGPS and always had trouble getting a first fix or getting a lot of satellites with a good signal strength. Now this is a part of history. The GPS issues we all know from Mediatek chipsets are simply gone. The MT6595 does support GPS, HGPS, GLONASS, QZSS and BDS, and this results in a GPS performance which is totally comparable to the one of a Snapdragon processor or some Samsung chipset or a high silicon chipset. It's really outstanding and you get a fix within just 1 to 3 seconds, and you can find up to 21 satellites outside when the weather is good, when the sky is clear, and you can even get an accuracy of sub 1 meter, which is simply insane. Now I did a little stress test with the GPS and closed the curtains of my windows and went 1 meter away from the window, and even though the signal strength was very limited of the satellites, I still was able to find 12 satellites, got a fix for 9 satellites and had an accuracy of 5 to 6 meters. So you see, the GPS is working simply perfectly well with the Meizu MX4 and probably with all MT6595 phones that will come out in the future. The Meizu MX4 features a 20.7 megapixels rear camera, and the sensor inside of there is a Sony premium IMX220 Exmor RS sensor, which has an amazing picture quality, let me tell you that. Now the depth of field I experienced while taking pictures with this phone was probably the best DOF experience I've ever had with a mobile device. You can take a picture of anything, even if it's far away, zoom in and you will see all details crystal clear. This is simply amazing and you can take outstanding pictures with this camera. It also has a very fast focus and really doesn't have any issues at all with complicated lighting situations, and this is really outstanding. But it also has a few downsides, and one of them is the color reproduction. Now it does reproduce the colors very naturally with a cold touch to them. Now while some people might like that, I don't really like that because I like colors to have warmer tones, to be more intense, and I compared it a little with the Vivo X-Shot, and while the MX4 outperformed the X-Shot in terms of depth of field and complicated lighting situations, the colors always have been better with the Vivo X-Shot. So, well, it's a thing of taste, but that was something I didn't really like. What in exchange I like again about the camera is the video quality. This thing does outstanding Ultra HD videos. The quality of those is insane. Just look at the sample being played right now and you will see that the quality is really good. Just one downside of it is that this phone is using the new HEVC1 codec, which is fairly new and isn't supported by most applications. So to use the files I had to convert them using the current release candidate of Handbrake. So that's a little downside, but well, this will be fixed in the future, I think, and pretty much everyone will be able to live with that for now. I also tested slow motion videos, and those also work perfectly fine with 120 FPS at 720p resolution, and there are no lags or anything. It just does work perfectly well, and you can do some really nice pieces of slow motion art with this one, even though it doesn't support the super slow motion technology of Mediatek right now. Regarding the front camera, I have to say that this one is fairly good as well, even though it only has 2 megapixels, but the sensor used inside of there is again a Sony sensor, the IMX208, and it also has a pretty good image quality. It's good for selfies and even better for video telephony and video chats. Now the battery inside the Meizu MX4 is pretty large at 3100 mAh, but still a few people do worry because of the power consumption of the Mediatek MT6595 because of all its cores and the powerful GPU. And yes, while the power consumption of this chipset can be insane, you still get a decent battery life with the Meizu MX4, which can easily be described as outstanding. I for myself reach around 2 days as a power user with this phone, which simply says it all. The important thing is to manage your battery consumption probably. So if you are on the go, only using email clients, messaging, a little internet surfing, taking pictures, doing phone calls and so on, make sure to switch the energy preset in the battery settings to energy saving mode. This is enough for basic usage and will save you a lot of battery. Now if you do video playing or something, switch to the balanced mode, and if you do gaming, switch to performance mode, and don't forget to switch it back. In this case you will really save a lot of battery and get a decent battery life out of this phone. If you run on energy saving mode all the time, I for myself got out 3 days of battery life, which is very good considering my phone usage. And what I also should do for saving battery is to control the brightness of the screen, either automatically or manually. I'm mostly doing it manually because I mostly have the screen at a very low level to save an extra of energy. Now charging the battery also goes very quickly. If the phone is running, it takes around 2 to 2.5 hours. If you turn the phone off, it will just take 1 to 1.5 hours depending on which power supply you use. So there definitely is some fast charging going on when having the phone turned off. So we already have reached the final conclusion part of this review, and let me tell you that I am really impressed by the Meizu MX4. The quality and the performance this phone is delivering for the comparably low price in China is outstanding, and I really fell in love with this phone. Now some of you might have trouble deciding if they should wait for the Meizu MX4 Pro or purchase the Meizu MX4 Standard, which I have here. Now I tell you, get the Meizu MX4 Standard because it has high performance. The Mediatek MT6595 chip is comparably with a Snapdragon 801 in real life usage. So it should really be enough for most of you, and most of today's games don't even manage to outperform, to bring the chipset to its maximum of what it can do. But as a matter of fact, the Meizu MX4 Pro with the Samsung Exynos SoC will have a nice chunk of more performance. So this means that you probably won't notice a difference in everyday's use for now, but you probably will in the future, as this SoC is probably up to date for a longer time than the MT6595. So if you should purchase the MX4 Standard or the MX4 Pro is depending on how long you will have this phone, how long you will use this phone, and what you are doing with this phone. So please decide upon that. If you plan to hold this phone for around a year or 1.5 years and don't do that much games, you are good to go with the Meizu MX4 Standard. By the way, I purchased the Meizu MX4 Standard as the 32GB version at endelive.com for around $470. That's quite a bit of money, but that's cost because of the limited availability of this phone, and of course also because the resellers want to have a part of the cake. So if you plan on getting the Meizu MX4 for Christmas, wait a bit with the purchase. It will become cheaper until Christmas. So that's all right now from me. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope it was helpful for you. If you like what we are doing on Giz China, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and of course here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'm Christopher from Giz China, Germany. Over and out.